That's by far every single person I speak to in the online course world is their biggest problem. They do that and it gets worse. So if anyone can do that kind of thing there, that's passive income.
That is such a huge point that so many people are missing.
Welcome to Swift Coaches Academy, a podcast dedicated to bringing health and wellness professionals the uncensored truth behind what it really takes to succeed in the health industry with me, your host, Xenia Wood. As an accredited exercise physiologist and business owner for almost a decade, I'm on a mission to transform the lives of ambitious health professionals like you who want more and are ready to take action to create incredible impact in your careers and unlock financial freedom in your business. So join me as I speak candidly with industry leaders about the struggles and successes from within the trenches through thought-provoking conversations.
Today we have an incredible guest. I'm super excited to speak to you, Jono, who's asked me to give his last name a crack, which I'm going to go with Petrohilos. How did we go?
You nailed it. I was telling Xenia off air, as you can probably tell from my accent, I was born and bred in Australia, so I don't even know how to pronounce my surname correctly. So I think you did better than I could.
Thank you. So just to give a little background on Jono, last year, CEC Provider of the Year, so 2022, one of the top fitness educators in Australia, a finalist just recently at this year's event as well. We were just talking off air. Apparently you can't win that twice in a row. So Jono's basically like the Obama of the fitness education space. You know, could have run for a third term and probably would have made it, but you know, we've got rules in these games that we play for awards. So still up there with the best in terms of providing education for the fitness space. And Fitness Education Online is that company that you have, creating online courses that are profitable and helping coaches primarily go online. Is that correct?
To be honest, it's yes and no. It's kind of changed a little bit. To give a bit of background and we'll probably get into this when we get into the podcast, but we'll start with kind of the end here. So what we actually do now at Fitness Education Online is we've got about 50 different CEC courses. Now, all those courses are online that personal trainers take. Some of them are also registered with ESSA. I know you've got a lot of ex-physers listening, but predominantly we work in the fitness space. So about 50 different online courses. They're not all technically mine, though. Some of them are collaborations. So let's say there might be someone like Xenia who's got a skill in what she does. She'll put a course together and we'll get it on our platform, and then we payment split that. Or some of them may be more like summits. You know, we might get 9 or 10 different experts in a field, put together a summit, make a CEC course out of that, and then, you know, that goes on our platform there. So simplified version, if you go on our website, there's like 50 different courses, everything from how to run a boot camp, how to get online, how to train older adults, how to train pregnant women, how to train people with disabilities. We're kind of like the gyms mowing. You know how whatever franchise you want, there's a gyms of, that's basically what we
gyms
are.
Cleaning, gyms
exactly.
tiling.
Exactly. Whatever the course is, just add 4 personal trainers on the end of it, and we've got a CEC course in it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so why don't we backtrack for a sec? Like, how did you get here? Like, you started in the fitness industry straight out of like school and then progressed?
Kind of.
What? Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. So like, I went to high school, usual kind of deal with most ex-phys. So I'm also an exercise physiologist. So I did a degree in exercise physiology, and I found that like most kind of people in the ex-phys space, finish high school, liked sport, don't really know what they want to do. Oh, look, there's a degree in sports science or exercise physiology. I'll go and do that and see what happens. That was kind of what I did. And I didn't mind the degree, went through it. It was okay. It was early days. Like I think I'm a bit older than you, Xenia. So, you know, I think I graduated in 2008 or something like that. So it was really early days in kind of the
From uni?
From uni, yeah. So, you know, early days, there wasn't the NDIS, you know, there wasn't as much like Medicare and DVA and work cover and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. My goal was actually, after that degree, I was like, I want to work in a hospital, you know, and do cardiac rehab. That was
I laugh because I tried that, and I literally, within my 6-week placement, I was the only ex-phys in the hospital. They were like, yeah, you can go under the physio who's never stepped foot in a gym and thinks that cardiac rehab is doing bicep curls at a standing station for 5 minutes and then squats for a station and then tricep extensions. And I was trying to like reinvent this hospital's cardiac rehab thing in my 6-week placement because I was like, no, needs to change. And I just laugh because I'm like, that's the furthest thing from probably what you and I would actually do, right?
100%. That was my thinking, right? And it was a little bit different for me. I couldn't get the job in there. I did some placement there, and then I went to apply for a job, and they were kind of like, hey, to get this job here, you need to have whatever 2 or 3 years experience of working with people with cardiac or with whatever it is, with special
you need
conditions
experience to get experience.
Exactly. And I was like, oh man, but I was like, you know what I can do? Let me go and work in a gym and get experience. Let me go and work in an aquatic center and tailor my clientele to be older adults, people with diabetes, people with cardiac conditions, older adults. I'll teach the older adults class. I'll teach the or I'll do hydro in the pool, whatever. So that was kind of my plan. But I kind of then got stuck in the fitness kind of world. I was like, you know what? I actually prefer training like, the fitness people than it is this demographic here. But the problem in those days was I was working on the gym floor, and like, it was just a low paying job. It was kind of like I was on the gym floor, I was putting the weights away, I was doing the odd PT session, doing the odd class. But I think the pay back then, it was something like 40 grand a year. And I was an accredited exercise physiologist. So I was kind of like, and there was a turning point, actually. A turning point, I wanted to do some investing. So I went to the bank to get a loan, and they were kind of like, yeah, with this salary, you're never getting a home loan. And I was like, okay, I got to do something about it, right? So I jumped on CEC, and there was like an advert out there. I can't remember it exactly, but it was along the lines of being a boot camp instructor, working at a franchise. And most of the franchise owners made $75,000 a year, working 6 hours a week. And I was like, okay, this sounds too good to be true. But even if it's a quarter of that, I'm working 40 hours a week and doing 40K, I don't care if it's 6 hours, I'll do 60 hours if you give me that 75K, or even if it's only 40K, if it's 6 hours, I'll do it. So, went down that pathway and managed to luckily get that position. I sucked as a boot camp instructor, but my resume was good. Exercise physiologist, young, experience in a gym, whatever, so was able to get that, but wasn't very good at running a boot camp. This franchise, Xenia, there were 75 different locations all across Australia and New Zealand, and you were ranked on how good you were, right? Essentially, how many of your clients came back to the next kind of challenge. 1 being the best, 75 being the worst. When I started off, take a guess what you think I was ranked at this franchise.
I feel like based on the story, it's 75.
Bang on. Yeah, you didn't even try and lie. A lot of people don't want to be mean. They say, oh, were you in the middle? Then you're straight out. I was 75, right? And here's the thing.
Which is probably just as hard to be as number one, to be honest. Like, like getting an OP back when, I don't know, from Queensland, getting an OP 25 is just as hard as a 1. Like, you have to just be not shit enough to have quit. You're still in it, but anyway.
Exactly. Well, I knew 74. 74 was not a good trainer. So to be worse than 74, you had to be bad, right? And here's the other thing. It wasn't like I thought I was bad at what I did. I didn't have imposter syndrome. You would log on this dashboard, and there were pie charts and graphs telling you where you were ranked. So you suck when there's a pie chart. But I liked it, and I saw the opportunity because it was just so leveraged. And we can speak about this later if it goes on. So I was like, you know what? I want to make something of this. And I had a meeting with like the franchise owners at the end of the year. There was a big kind of conference, whatever. And I kind of heard the owner's story. And she was a lot younger than me. She was early 20s. And she ran the whole franchise. So she ran 75 different locations, and each location would give her about $1,000 a week. I know because that's what I was giving her, right? I was doing the math in my head, and I was like, hold on. This woman's like 25, and she's making $75,000 a week, and she's not even running the boot camp, right? And she had just got her Cert 3 and 4 in fitness. I was like, I'm an accredited exercise physiologist. What the hell is my excuse? So that kind of really motivated me. And I don't want to go too much down that pathway, but simplified version, I was like, right, I really want to do this. I want to dedicate my life to doing it. So I kind of went all out in trying to be the best boot camp instructor in the world. I did courses, I did workshops, I followed other successful instructors. I read books, I watched Tony Robbins videos, like whatever I could to do it. And then long story short, 12 months later, went back to that same conference, was now ranked number 1. Went from having 20 clients to 120 clients. Went from having a retention rate from like 30% of people coming back to 100% of people coming back. And then opened up another location. And then people kind of started to ask me, Jono, how you doing this? We knew you when you were the worst, now you're up here. How did you do it? And to start, I would try and give them, just go and read this book and follow this instructor and do this. And I'd try and give them little pieces from everywhere. And it just wouldn't really work because it was like, I wasn't giving them the complete puzzle. And then I was like, hold on, maybe I can put together a course that does exactly what I do and gets rid of all the stuff that you don't need. And also a lot of the courses that I did weren't necessarily tailored for a boot camp. Like it might be, for example, how to do sales as a personal trainer, but it would be tailored for like someone walks into the gym, how do you do a sales consult in the gym? It's completely different if you're running an outdoor boot camp and you're selling over the phone, or the course might be, how to use kettlebells. Okay, that's fine if you've got a whole rack of kettlebells and one person in the gym and you can pick that's completely different. If you're driving to a park in your car with 20, so, I was able to just, basically put together a course there. And we might even get to that story. I think that'll be good. But simplified version, that's kind of how it started there. It was like ran a boot camp, sucked at it, learned how to get good at it. And from that was able to put together a really solid course because I was so bad at it. Sometimes if you're naturally good at something, it's hard to teach other people because you're just like, it's easy. Just, I didn't have that.
Feel that.
Like,
I think there's different things.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, I don't care how bad you are as a boot camp instructor. I was worse. So I've thought of everything that it can possibly be. It's in here. And that's essentially how it started. But I'd love to run into like, I guess, the online course side of things. So the listeners can be like, right, I would love to.
I think it's huge, right? Like online course space. And I do a lot of work in that now. And I think we have very similar stories in that, I think sometimes it's, the coaches space gets a little tarnished because people go, oh, well, I sucked as a coach. So now I'm going to make money off of other people teaching them to do what I didn't ever really do. And so I actually really respect and love that we have that similar journey in terms of both of us sort of came up through that, created or figured it out, had people starting to ask us questions and say, how do you do what you do? And then you went out of a necessity, not out of like, I just want to coach coaches, but out of necessity, you're like, right, let's make this something that's actually like a pathway for people. So I love that.
Bang on. And it's funny now as well, actually, you mentioned that. That's the same kind of thing in like the create an online course space. So I work a little bit in that space as well. And there's all these kind of people that are like, I'll show you how to, create an online course, yada, yada, yada. But it's kind of like their whole business has just been showing other people how to create online courses. They've never really done it themselves. And also it's different. Actually, I was probably going on a tangent. We won't get into there. But no, I'll dive into the online course space. So so at that kind of point there, I was like, you know what? And I had I teamed up with a business partner as well, Travis Matern. Shout out if you're listening, Travis. So kind of at that point there, I was like, all right, cool. I want to put together this CEC course, but I don't really know how it works. And once again, this is back in 2014 or something, right? It wasn't really online course. It was way before COVID. Online wasn't really a big thing. So I had no idea how to put together an online course. And I was like, all right, I think I was even thinking a face-to-face course to start with. And I was all right, I'll put together a face-to-face course. But then I was thinking about the logistics. And I'm like, I got to find a venue. I got to pay for the venue. I got to hire the venue. I need to market it. And then if no one comes, and I still got to pay it. Or worst case scenario, one person comes and I actually have to teach the workshop. So I was like, I don't. And I was working really hard at that stage. I had like one day off Sunday. I'm like, do I really want to give my one day off to run this workshop? So I was like, what about this online thing? Let me look into how that works. Did some initial Googling, and I think someone quoted me $20,000 to create a website with with an online course on there. And I was like, it's too much. I don't want to risk it, yada, yada, yada. And I was just scrolling through Facebook and an ad came up to buy an ebook. And I didn't know what an ebook was back then. And I was like, oh, what's an ebook? Let me buy this thing here. So I bought it. Can't remember what it was. It was pretty good. But I was like, hold on. This is just a Microsoft Word document saved as a PDF. Now, I'm a technological dunce. I'm a boot camp instructor, personal trainer. But I know how to open Microsoft Word and press save as PDF. So I was like, let me create an online course with Travis and just create a solid ebook. And we did. It was content-wise, it was like 80, 90 pages. It wasn't a 2-page free ebook like it is these days. It was a manual, basically. If you followed this manual, you would run an awesome boot camp.
Do you still have the manual?
I think I do. Yeah, I think I do. Yeah,
I would love to get my hands on it or get my computer on a copy of that.
Yeah,
That would be
I'll send
epic.
it. I'll send it over. So we had this ebook, right? But the only problem was it looked like a Microsoft Word document, and I was like, I need to make it look a bit better. So I took a night off work. I was teaching boot camp or whatever, and I was like, I'll fiddle around and make it look better. And I was a technological dunce, tried to make it look better on Microsoft Word, made it look worse. I don't know if any of your listeners can relate. You try and put an image here.
Do you remember the WordArt font that was like that rainbow, flow font?
Yep.
This is what I'm imagining.
It was like that. And I don't know what the text wrapping or whatever, when it, that you put a photo on, it goes, I didn't know what I was doing. And I was, oh man, I went on Google to try and find an answer. And I stumbled across the website Fiverr. Now, I'm guessing most of your listeners probably know what that is now, but, back in those days, it's 10 years ago, I wasn't in this space. I didn't know. And it was different back then as well. In those days, you could go on Fiverr and you could get anything you want done for $5. And I was scrolling through and some of the things, I still remember this thing. There was this one guy on there that said he'd slap himself in the face if you gave him $5. I was like, who's this loser? How pathetic is that?
It's like Craigslist.
Yeah. Well, I was tempted by it. I was like, you know what? I want to do this and see if he actually does it. So I booked that gig or whatever, paid him $5, and he sent over a video of him slapping himself in the face. And he didn't hold back.
Imagine if he did it once and recorded it.
That's what happened, right?
Yeah.
I got it. And I didn't know this stuff back then. I was like, oh man, this guy actually slapped himself in the face.
You wanted to be like, hi, Jono.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I saw was missing. And I was like, hold on, he didn't say my name or anything. And I went back. It was an unlisted YouTube video that he sent me that had 100,000 views, right? I thought this guy was a loser for slapping himself in the face. He did it once. He sold it on Fiverr 100,000 times for $5. He made $500,000 by slapping himself in the face once. That motivated me. I was already motivated by, $75,000 in a week.
You're like, idiots can make money on the internet. Surely I can do it.
Exactly. That was it. But it also kind of taught me, leverage and selling once and yada, yada, yada. But anyway, I found someone to make the ebook look better. But I was also like, hold on, this is how I can add videos into this course. I've got a phone. Let me take videos. Let me put them on YouTube as unlisted and let me insert them into this ebook. And now it was a solid ebook. Not only was it 90 pages of solid content, it looked nice. It was formatted. You had video demonstrations. And the total outlay for me was $5, right? And for people watching, I wouldn't necessarily do this again now because there's better software. But the message I want to kind of say there is the production value of this online course was $5, right? I got it registered with Fitness Australia. For the listeners, that's like an SR for personal trainers. That was, I don't know, $200 for the year or something super affordable, or maybe $500 for the year. And I was selling the course for, I think at that stage, $250. So my kind of mindset was, all I need to do is sell 2 of these in a year and it's broken even, worst case scenario. So it kind of made sense there. But yeah, the moral of that initial part for it is kind of like the production value. What I see a lot of online course creators do is they will spend years creating this course and get all this fancy camera and pay a graphic designer. And our course obviously got better. That's not what we sell now. But I think it's much better to start off a lot more affordable, see if it sells, and then if it sells, reinvest. Yeah. So that was that kind of start point there. Do you want me to keep going the next steps from here?
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. And then I kind of forgot. I was all right, cool. That's step 1. It's created. I've got my other business. Let me focus on that and I'll come up with a plan to market these courses later kind of thing. And then within like a couple of days or something, I got a phone call. And it was someone, and they're like, "Hey, I'm just on the Fitness Australia website. I see your course here, but there's no link to buy it. How do I buy it?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just in a meeting. Let me call you back." Because I didn't even know how to sell online then, So I went on Google and I was like, "How do you sell online?" And found PayPal was the easiest then. So, got a PayPal link, sent it over, and, purchased the course, sent over a PayPal link. She purchased it. I manually sent her over the ebook, and, it was good. And that kind of continuously happened. We'd make 2 or 3 sales a month, doing pretty much nothing on the sales and marketing end, and also nothing on the delivery end, because there was like once again, we didn't know software then, so we'd manually mark an assessment, but that would take 5 minutes or whatever. Now we obviously use software where someone goes online, Class Marker, if anyone's listening, and they fill it online, they get the certificate. So it's nothing now. But I was kind of thinking, I was like, you know what? Like, we're making, $1,000 a month, give or take, doing absolutely nothing. Imagine if we actually did something. What would it kind of look like? So I started diving into the online marketing world, and I reached out to a mentor of mine, the husband of the woman that ran the boot camp. And he was like, "Hey, you got to learn email marketing. If you learn nothing else, go and learn email marketing." So registered for a course. It was at the time super expensive for me. It was about $2,000 to do the course. But to put that in perspective, my car cost $2,000 that I bought then. So that was the biggest purchase I'd ever made. But I trusted the guy because he was making $75,000 a week. I had the trust there. So, and he was a friend as well. It wasn't like someone trying to sell me his thing for $2,000. He was a mentor that said, "Hey, this is what I did that really helped me. It cost $2,000. Do it. You won't regret it." So did that, and it was great. Still today, one of the best courses.
Do you remember what it's called?
Yeah.
Who it was by?
Yeah. So it was by, do you know, digital marketer, Ryan Dice. Do you know who they are?
Maybe.
So they're not as big as they used to be, because I think the founder, Ryan Dice, sold it a couple of years ago. But back then they were huge. Digital marketer. The course was, now they've got a membership site, but back then it was email marketing something. And they still run a very big conference in America, Traffic and Conversion Summit. So for anyone that's into marketing, that's one of the biggest ones over there. So I did that, and it was great because I had a little bit of an email list from people that were inquiring or people that purchased one of the courses and whatever. So did that course, and then was able to basically double the income again. So I went from making, I don't know, $1,000 a month to maybe $2,000 a month just sending emails. And I'm like, this is great. But the limitation to that was my email list was getting smaller because I was sending out more emails, and yes, I was making more sales, but I was also getting more unsubscribes. It's just kind of the game. It is what it is, right? So I was like, I need to find a way to get people into this. What can I do? And I was listening to a lot of podcasts at the time, and Facebook ads was the biggest thing back then. So I was like, all right, let me learn Facebook ads. Found a mentor in Facebook ads. That was about $5,000. But I was kind of comfortable with spending more money at that time because I was like, I spent this $2,000, got a really good reward from it. I'm like, you know what? I think it's worth it. So did that. It's probably a whole nother story in how that worked, but simplified version, by the end of it, we were able to get Facebook ads working. We're able to get leads for a couple dollars back in those days. We don't now, but back in those days we could. And then that had a big jump in revenue again. I can't remember exact numbers, but it was probably another double again, because now it was like, all right, cool. We're just growing this email list so much quicker. Instead of it going down, it's growing rapidly. But then the limitation there was very few people were signing up like initially. So we'd set up a Facebook ad. They'd go through an automation, but hardly anyone would buy the automation. They would sign up like a month later, 2 months later, 6 months later kind of thing. So there's a bit of a lag time. And I was like, if there's a way we can speed up this kind of lag time, that would be great. So I'm not losing money on the front end to make it on the back end. So, and then what happened there is I got a call from someone who was like, who was basically trying to sell me a how to sell course. And I was like, this is great. Teach me however you did this to get me to pay you, teach me how to do that. And that was another $5,000 or whatever it was, but did that. And then that was great because then I learned how to sell like initially off the phone. So now there was no lag time. It was like whatever the amount of money I spent on Facebook ads, I would make that back plus more on the front end and I would also be growing leads on the back end there. So then it was kind of like this whole system there. It was like, all right, I know how to market. I can get pretty much as many people as I want in the front door. I know how to sell on the front end, so I'm not losing any money on the front end. And then I know how to also sell on the back end via email marketing. And I'll add just something in there as well. Email marketing, but also a Facebook group, which worked really well for us. We now actually have the largest Facebook group in the world for personal trainers. There's like 20,000 personal trainers in there. But that kind of worked as well, because email marketing is obviously really good, but sometimes it can come across a little bit kind of cold and people trying to sell stuff. What we found is if you've also got like a really active Facebook group where you post, back in those days, it might be a bit more Instagram and TikTok now, but my audience anyway is kind of my age and a little bit older, so they're still on Facebook. That kind of really helped as well. So that kind of system there, we can go deeper or we can speak about the next things as well. But that kind of system there, it gave me like, kind of like, I can't remember the word, it's just like, yeah, I guess a system that was able to just consistently grow, because even though the front end might have been limited a little bit, just building that audience size just meant that that email that we sent out every week would just generate more revenue every single week just because the list was bigger there. And that got to, I can't remember exact figures, but we would have been making $40,000, $50,000 a month, maybe, give or take, just from that kind of system there. And there's other things we do now to generate more than that. But I think that system there is kind of the major thing we did to start off. Yeah. Yeah. And I can keep going deeper, or we can dive into which way do you want to go from here?
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I think one thing that personally I've been working on recently, and I'm probably a bit late to the party, but I think that in the health space, a lot of us aren't even doing this, is...
Coach, quick little interruption to let you know that we have just opened applications again for the first time in 12 months for our business mentorship program. Now, we have different levels of this to suit people who are just starting out all the way through to looking to scale their business with team, systems, and support. And can I just say that this is honestly one of my favorite parts of business, and I love working with health coaches like you who are ready to take that next step, take action, and are looking for some incredible support for a full 12 months. We have everything in here, from accountability to building confidence to giving you the actual tangible strategies, systems, processes. Everything that's mine is yours. I give you all the resources I have, including like waivers and templates and everything that you need to be really clear and know your numbers in your business, which is something I think a lot of health coaches really struggle with, and to be able to make really strong, confident decisions in your business to move it forward and take you out of side hustler mode and into business CEO ownership mode. If this is something that you have been thinking about, now is absolutely the time, because I only have a few spots available. I always limit this because I get to work one-on-one with every single human who joins our program, which is something that really lights me up. So if you have been thinking about this, then now is absolutely the time. Link is in the show notes, and I cannot wait to have a chat with you, see if this is right for you, and hopefully work with you in 2024.
Is the email marketing stuff. Like there's so many people that I'm hearing now speaking about, like, that is your thing. Like that is the thing that is where you can get your people, because phone numbers are obviously a lot more personal. People are less willing to hand them out. But then you think about an Instagram or whatever, it's like, you don't own any of that information. Like they can pull it from you tomorrow, and then you have no one. And it's like, how do you reach out to those people? And so I've started doing a little bit of email marketing recently. And when I think about it, I'm like, okay, I have, let's say, 1,000 people on our email subscribers, and we get about 40% open rates, which I believe is quite great.
Yeah. Like 20, 25.
Yeah, 20% is supposed to be, So we get like 40% open rate. So I'm thinking, like, let's say that means that like
400.
Let's say 400 people, are seeing that email every time we send it out, versus even if I have, like, you know, on my personal Instagram, we have like 2,000 people, but 5% of that is probably less than how many people are going to see and open those emails. And so even though, like, I think sometimes it's hard because particularly seeing some of those metrics and having like the social proof aspect of like, I have X number of followers on Instagram, I think is kind of the thing. But like, and no one knows how many like email subscribers you have. But where people are warmest, I think, is when you let them into your inbox.
100%.
And I think that is the metric that, you know, even having a couple hundred on there of past clients and starting to track and keep this stuff. So I think one of the first things I just want to pull out that's a golden nugget that you've mentioned today is that if you are in the health industry or you're listening to this, you have a business, create an email list and start adding value. So it's not a selling thing. It's not a sell fest. You're not trying to shove stuff down their throat, but telling through stories, I've learned, is a great way to sell things and to get people engaged and whatnot. I love adding in the Facebook group or some element of community so they can engage back with you too, because sometimes it feels a bit one-way dialogue with the email, but I do really love that. And I think that is really the next wave of where we should be going in the health space, because so many other businesses are doing it and I feel like we're behind. So
100%.
I just wanted to pull that out.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? Like I haven't even checked my metrics, but if I had to estimate, when we've got probably double as many people in our Facebook group than we do on our email list, but I'd say probably 90% of sales come from email. The Facebook's more just like an afterthought. You know, it's kind of like we're still active in the Facebook group, but in terms of the sales side of things, like for me, social media is more a bit of fun, getting the name out there. Yeah, odd sale here or there. But most of the sales come from the email list, and it's so agree with that. And I'll share where to go from here. So then I think the next there's probably two pathways here, but I'll share kind of both of them. So there were two stumbling blocks there. Stumbling block at that point there, like the revenue was good, but it's kind of just working all day, every day on the phone, you know, and it's like, it's not bad. I love what I do. You know, money's good, but it's probably not a sustainable long-term kind of thing. And also I was teaching other personal trainers how to grow their business as well. And I was kind of like, it's easy. Just jump on the phone for 8 hours a day. Everyone's like, I don't want to do that.
Like, I came into the fitness industry to do fitness.
Yeah, exactly. So I was all right, I need to come up with a better thing, for myself, so I'm not tied to the phone all day, every day. But also so I can teach other people more leveraged ways. And that's when I started to learn about SEO, search engine optimization. And I was like, okay, hold on. If I know that there's people that are already searching these keywords and I can do things to my website to make sure that I rank up the top and that people are actually buying, well, that's probably a pretty good idea there. So implemented that there. And then that saw another big growth as well. And I think that's it's a tricky one. I think it's definitely a sleeping giant because I feel everybody in the world is about social media. I need an Instagram, I need a TikTok, I need a Facebook, and they're all good things. Don't get me wrong. But in saying that, if there's like, the tricky part with SEO is there's kind of already got to be traffic. If you're selling something that people aren't searching for every single month, well, it's not really that. And I'll give an example, actually. Our most popular course at that time was our bootcamp course, how to run a successful bootcamp. So I optimized the website to come up first on Google if anyone was typing in bootcamp CEC course. And we got to number 1 on Google, and I'm like, this is great. But then I learned more about SEO and learned how to check how many people are actually searching that term, and nobody was searching it. Right? So
you're like, I'm the number one in my own race and nobody's playing.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, cool. But there were things that people were searching. People were searching pregnancy CEC course, kettlebell CEC course, fitness CEC course, ESSA CPD course, you know? So I was like, all right, cool. I just need to target it there. So then that was another big jump there. So if anyone can do that kind of thing there, it's just the easiest. That's passive income, right? I know there's different terms of passive income or whatnot, but let's just say that model there. I've got at the moment people that are just jumping on Google, typing in fitness CEC courses, going to my website, purchasing on that website, doing the course, and then doing the assessment automatically. And there's $500 to me doing absolutely nothing, never heard of the person, never marketed, whatever, you know? So I think that's another sleeping giant, and that kind of really helped us as well. But the other probably big limiting factor with us there is at the time it was just me and my business partner creating all the courses. And we created about 10 different courses. But then that's all we knew. We were like, all right, what do we do?
Get a degree or some shit. Unless you obviously partner with.
Exactly. And that was, And it sounds easy now, but it was kind of like a hard decision at the time, and probably for both parties. The first person we paired with, and we're still paired with it today. It's awesome relationship, and it works better now than it used to. But it was a woman who already had a CEC course on training pre and postnatal women, because that's what we got asked. Everyone's like, yeah, I love your courses, but you got anything around training pregnant women? And we're like, no, it's not our specialty. Why would we have something? But a lot of people saw us as like the education specialists because we had all these different courses in this thing here. So found a woman who already had a course in that, and had a conversation about collaborating. And it was hard at the start because I wanted more of the percentage. She wanted more of the percentage, but I was all right, whatever. Let's start here and see where it goes. And it actually went really good. I think that's probably our best selling course, even still to today. So I was able to negotiate that percentage a bit more. And just for some background for the listeners, the kind of standard thing for collaborations in the online marketing world, if it's an online course, is about 50-50. It's like if someone's got a course and they want me to sell it to my audience, that's great. I'll do it, but I want 50%. All right. And that's pretty
And that
well
would depend on like if it's 100% hands off, right?
Exactly.
Versus like if they're actually going to go and deliver something, then obviously
Exactly.
they take a bigger split because
Exactly.
of the time and effort involved. Yeah.
Exactly. It's kind of like you've already done that end. You're not doing anything more. So, we'll do that there. If it's something that they're doing a weekly coaching or whatever, okay, completely different side of things. But even then, even that 50-50 for a lot of like course creators, they don't like that. Right? Because they're kind of like, well, this is my IP. You're not doing anything. You're just marketing, whatever. So that can be a tough conversation to start with, especially if that person like really values their content. So we started 70-30 in her favor, just because it was like, I wanted to get it, see how it went. But because it sold so well, I was like, hey, Misha, it's only really worth it if we do it 50-50. So if you want to continue, it's 50-50, your choice. You don't have to. But it was worth it for her, because if she didn't continue, she would have lost a big chunk of income, right? So, that came about. And then we started to get courses around nutrition, questions around nutrition. Once again, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a dietitian, So we're like, all right, who can we collaborate with? Here's someone here that's already got a course in nutrition. All right, cool. Let's collaborate with that person there. And that was kind of our next kind of stage of the business there. Was right. Let's see. And the message for the listeners here is a couple things. Number one, it's like it's the power of collaboration. So maybe I could have done a 4-year dietitian degree, or not even. Maybe I could have done a 1-year course in nutrition, and become a nutritionist and put a nutrition course together. But the amount of work and effort that would have taken for me to put together something that's okay, it'd be way better for me to find someone that's already got it and just split that 50-50, because then it's just so quick. Like that person's already got it, course done. Right, next month, let me get another one. Next month, let me get another one, and obviously it wasn't it could have been, but there's just not enough demand for that many courses. But really, we could have created a new course every single month if we wanted to. But also the other key there as well is creating courses where there's already demand. Right? There's people already asking us these. And even if we go back right to the start, because the problem I see with a lot of course creators, they'll create this awesome course. They don't have an audience to sell it to. That can be a problem, but you can always build an audience. But the bigger problem is if you create a course that nobody wants, right? Doesn't matter how good your Facebook ads are, how good your marketing is. If the market doesn't want that course, you're selling ice to the Eskimos,
Yeah, I think that's a great point to like to stop at just and sort of dive into a little bit more, because I think that's huge. And it's fortuitous timing that we've spoken about it now. I'm by the time this episode's launched, we will be like midway through create our course that's Create an Irresistible Health Offer, which teaches PTs, health industry professionals, allied health, how to create not just a course, and it doesn't have to be a course, but an offer, which is just selling something that's not one session at a time to people. That's obviously irresistible, which we can speak about for days. But I think the important part with that is that I'm huge on making sure that you're getting input from the people who would be potential buyers or who would be interested first before you go and do all the hard work. The thing that I continually have to like almost shake my mentees about and be like, look, there's like, I know that you love one of them, works with PCOS. And I'm like, cool, but before you create it, go and tell people, create like this teeny skeleton or a framework, or poll people on your social media or wherever it is, but like talk to humans, ask them what they want, what they value. If you were to create something, what are the most important parts and features? Because if you, like you said, you spend years on these things, and I've sat on my hands.
I've made that mistake myself. That's how I've learned it.
For like 6 years before I created my first course. And the thing that I actually did from the start was pitch it and sell it and actually get deposits in at a minimum before I created it. And I'm like, cool, 100%. It'll start in 8 weeks or whatever the fuck it is. If it was like each week we do something together face to face or live or whatnot. But I think that is such a huge point that so many people are missing, because they want all the T's and C's and the dotted, the dotted I's and the crossed T's and everything to look perfect. And it's like, doesn't matter if it fucking sits there and no one buys it. Like 100%. We've got to make sure that people want what you have. It's not just you think in your own little bubble that it's amazing. So I just wanted to really touch on that, because I think that there's no point. And so such a waste of your time, effort, and energy pouring your heart and soul into something. You could spend a year or more on it, but if no one wants it. So I think having a first iteration and then, continuing to grow and evolve. And the thing is, in the health industry, we do that anyway. We sell people on like a session, and then we go create this. We don't create a session for someone who's pregnant when we've never had a pregnant client. Like, you wait until you get the client who's pregnant, and then you go and create for them. And so I think we need to reframe our mind around that and make sure that we're doing that when we're creating courses or offers or services. I think it's all the same. And that's the way that I love that, someone of your caliber who's done really successfully and started out at number 75 or 75. I think it's really, really empowering to hear, like, I don't have to have everything. I can just give it a crack. The iteration can be a glorified Word document kind of vibes. So I really appreciate that.
I'll expand. I know we're a bit short on time, so I'll expand on that, and then we'll start to wrap up. I'll share a few things there. That's by far every single person I speak to in the online course world is their biggest problem. They do that, and it gets worse because you have this thing. I can't remember the exact term for it. In poker terms, it's called pot committed. It's where, like, if you put all this money in this hand, even though you should fold that hand, you've put so much effort in so you see it to the end. I find a lot of people are like that if you do the online course first, because you've put all this work into it. You should fold it and it's not going to fly. You kind of know this thing's never going to sell, right? And I need to give it up and tweak it a little bit or go a slightly different angle. But it's so hard to do that if you put all this work into it. But if you've just put a little bit of work into it, it's okay to kind of fold that hand and be like, all right, you know what? This won't work, but if I do it this way, it will. And I'll share a couple things there. Even today, we got 50 courses. I know the market probably better than anyone else in the fitness industry in terms of selling to personal trainers, except for maybe yourself. I know you're very good in that market as well. But even then, if I'm going to create an online course, here's essentially what I do. I have a guest on or I do a podcast on that topic, and then I post it in the Facebook group. Hey, did a podcast with Xenia Wood on how to create an irresistible offer. Who wants the link? Comment below. Now, some podcasts I do get 100 people saying, oh, that's awesome, send me the link. Some I get 0 people. I did one the other day, how to train rugby players. No one cares in my Facebook group anyway. So even I might love rugby and I might want to put a course together. I can't even get someone to listen to a podcast. How is the course going to sell? But even then, that's not the end of it. All right. Once I see that demand on the podcast, then I make another post. Hey, thinking of creating a course on how to create an irresistible offer. Who would be interested? Once again, sometimes it's 0, sometimes it's 100. If it's 0, end of idea. The only thing I wasted was a Facebook post. Don't care. If it's 100, okay, I'm going to put a bit more effort to it. Still, I won't create the course. I'll just create the landing page. And it's exactly what Xenia said. If I'm creating a new course, I teach it first. Even if it's going to be an on-demand course, the first time I sell it is a 4-week course or a 6-week course or something like that, where I just teach it week by week for 6 weeks. People are there on the Zoom, but I hide them. So if you're watching it on demand, you wouldn't even know people are in there. And even then, all I do is create the landing page, right? And then I just sell that. Hey, we're doing a 4-week course, a 6-week course, whatever it is. Now, 9 out of 10 times, if the first 2 things have gone well, people are going to buy it. But still, I'm still not going to put together the course until people have put the money down for it.
Totally.
Because it also determines, like, not saying I'll ever do a bad course, but there's a difference in the amount of time and effort I'm going to put in something if I've got 4 people in there, if I've got 40 people in there. So, you know what, I do that first. And yeah, that even today, that's still the whole system there. And it's like, even if someone wanted to create an online course, that's what I would tell them to do it week by week by week first. So, you know, if there's demand, and if no one buys it, okay, you don't create the freaking course. You know, yeah, it sucks, but you've saved yourself like 6 months of you know, creating all this stuff that's never going to sell. And even if we circle back to the start, the reason this whole business is successful, I just got lucky. When, like, looking back, I know it's successful because I created something there was demand for. But I just kind of got lucky by knowing that, because like when I was 75, the reason I got to number 1 was by doing a bunch of CEC courses, right? And every CEC course I went to, there were 15, 20 personal trainers there. So it's kind of like, I didn't know this at the time, but looking back, knowing now, I knew that I was creating something that there was already demand for, which made it way easier to sell.
Totally. Yeah. So make sure there are people willing to not just like obviously gauge interest, but also then commit financially and at least put something down, I think is huge. And then the last point that you just said, which has just flown out of my brain.
Teach it live first. Teach it live first
yes,
the first time, and then get it. Use that as your on demand. Yeah.
Teach it live and be a couple weeks
jump
ahead.
In there for a sec. It's kind of like less overwhelming, because if you got to create a whole course, you can get overwhelmed. But if you're just kind of like, all I got to do is create one presentation a week for 4 weeks. I don't care who you are. If you want to create an online course, that's fairly achievable to do.
Totally. Can I tell you a quick story about the first course that I ever created? Looking back, I was like, holy shit, like that was fucking huge. So I had talked for literally like 6+ years about doing this. I'd done maybe 1 or 2 6-week free courses for personal trainers. And I had like 8 people come in live and do it with me. And then I was like, no, I want to create like an educational mentorship, and it's going to have like all these things in it. And I literally created, like, the skeleton of it was 26 modules across 26 weeks with an hour 15-ish of lecture content, then practical activities, and then an hour tutorial every single week. So it's 3 hours that people had to commit to every single week for a 6-month period, no days off. And I didn't create it obviously before I launched it, because that's a 6 months.
Lucky.
So yes, but what I did do is I ended up getting like, I think it was close to 20 people enrolled at $3.5K each for this like very intensive 6-month mentorship. And so for me, because I'd been sitting on my hands for it for ages, I just went, you know what? I'm just going to sell it first. And then when I started getting people actually pay me for it, I was like, okay, fuck, now I have to do it. So it lit the fire, and we ended up, I did the math on it. So the first course that I did brought in $61,900 just from me selling. And then I was like, okay, well, I've just received like over 60K. Like, I have to like fuck it. And so I spent my summer, like beautiful Queensland summer days, like in my, like doing research, like 25 hours every weekend. Like it was crazy to get this course out. But I guess the moral of the story, like if you have people who've literally paid you money, that's why I think PTs get stuck in, or health professionals get stuck in this model. It's because the things that are urgent is the clients that are paying them, but they don't ever get people to pay them for a course or for an offer or for something else. And so they default back to, well, what's my bare minimum I have to do? Or I have to service my clients who are already paying me. It's like, well, get other people to pay you. And then you have to service them too.
I'll add a couple things there. I know we could just piggyback over each other all day, but I'll add there as well. And that's why I like teaching it live as well the first time. Because if you know, not only like if they paid you, but if I know I'm going to be in a Zoom session there and there's going to be 10 people in that Zoom session for me to teach them, I have to do it. And also it's kind of like, it's more fun. Like, you know, sometimes you're talking to a computer. Is anyone going to watch this? I don't even know. But if you know people are there, then it's more fun there. But I'll go back. There's something else I wanted to add to that as well in terms of, let me think, because it was a good point. I've lost it now. Yeah, go back.
In terms of like selling before you create it, or
something to do with that. Oh no, sorry. Yeah. Here's what I wanted to go. So when I speak to, and I think especially educated people, they kind of have a problem with selling it before it's created. But my kind of thing, if anyone's feeling like that listening to it, it's no different. If you're going to go and sign up to a how to learn Spanish class at your local, college or whatever, you usually pay the full amount up front, and they teach it to you every week for 10 weeks. You're going to do a learn how to salsa class. You pay an amount up front, and they teach you how to do it every week for 10 weeks. But I think there's something in a lot of people in the online world where they think, if you're buying an online course, it needs to be all done by the time people buy it. But in any other course in life, it doesn't work like that. You pay up front and they teach it to you week by college, university, school, everything else in life, you pay up front and they teach it to you week by week by week. And if they don't have enough people, they cancel it. If your local Spanish school needs 10 people to make it profitable and only 3 sign up, even though they've already paid them, they'll just cancel that class and give you a refund because it's not worth it for them. Right? You can do the same thing in the online world.
Yeah, I think, there's so many good points that I feel like we could literally just be on here for hours and hours, but in the interest of time and people listening to, get on with the rest of their day, I think we'll definitely call it there. Jono, thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I think that what you're doing and I guess, you've gone from, this fitness on the grounds through really this marketing journey, right? And I think that's really the next evolution when you want to scale something, is understanding that marketing or sales and things like that. So maybe just really quickly to bring it back, I love to finish these episodes with 1 actionable item, maybe 2, that let's say someone who's thinking about creating an online course or something online, whether it's, online programming, maybe, where could they start, or what are some of the things that you think would be a great thing for them to actually go and do?
Yes, good point. So there's kind of 2 ways you can go. If the person listening already has like a following of that ideal person, just test the market. Any of the ideas that we kind of said here, even, hey, as simple as, hey, I'm thinking of doing insert blank. Would you be interested? That will at least give you some demand. If you get no one commenting, okay, probably not the best idea. If you get a bunch of people commenting, okay, explore it further. For those of you that maybe want to start something new, because that can kind of happen. Even in my situation, I kind of went from running a boot camp to putting together a course for personal trainers, which I didn't really have an audience of. And some people might be that as well. They might be doing that and do a bit of a flip there. If you're going to do that, you're going to need to build an audience eventually anyway. But just a starting point there could just be creating a free mini course. Especially if you've never done something online before, just like literally 30 minutes, an hour max, teaching one thing, and that's your mini course there. That gives you some experience of creating a course. You kind of learn the software, whatever. But you can also use that to get it out to the market as well. You can connect with people. Hey, by the way, I got this free thing. Are you interested? And go from there. So they're probably the 2 ways I would go.
I love that. And one little thing I wanted to add as well is piggybacking or leveraging other people's audiences. Let's say you don't even have an Instagram. You could go on to Jono's Facebook group and go, hey guys, is anyone interested in, rugby for women or whatever it is? And then just use that audience to just ask questions, because there's so many Facebook groups out there and other forums and platforms and communities that you could engage with. And it's not to sell your thing. It's just to see, is there a market here for this? How many people Google those search terms? Just finding other ways if you don't have an audience, so that there's absolutely no excuses. If you're like, fuck, this has excited me today, I want to do something with it, but I have no audience, no excuse. You can always ask other people and, have them share it on their stories, ask questions and things for you. So, hopefully that's given our listeners some pretty cool insights into your journey, the online space, course creation. But if anyone wants to hit you up, maybe they want to do a CEC course and have it on your side or anything like that, where can they go to find you? What's the best place?
Yes. So best thing is just go to our Facebook group, just type in Fitness Education Online, Fitness Education Online Community Group, I think it's called. But jump in that Facebook group there. That's where I'm the most active.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you again, Jono. And I'm sure we'll be catching up very soon.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Xenia.
Bye.
Coach, don't forget we have open enrollments for the 2024 intake of our business mentorship. We start this on February 5th, but tickets often sell out for our 12-month program well in advance. So if this is something you've been considering, I would not wait on this, because I absolutely cap this and make sure that everyone inside the program has an incredible experience and gets all of the support they need for a full 12 months to feel confident as hell in everything that you're doing, not just in your technical skills, but in your business as a health professional as well. Link again is in the show notes, and I cannot wait to chat to you when you chuck in your application form. Speak soon.
I have a tiny favor to ask of you, and that is to just hit that subscribe button if you have not done it yet. If you've made it this far, then I hope that this has been valuable for you and for us to get more incredible guests in front of your earlobes and faces. If you're watching us on YouTube, then please do that now. And if you have any feedback or suggestions for me, or something that was a golden nugget that really stood out to you in this episode, I would absolutely love if you flicked me a message over on Instagram at Xenia Wood Official. Until next episode, and in whatever you do, move swiftly.